McKnight back at ringside getting ready for our 10-round fight. McKnight and Donaldson. We're going to go up to our ring announcer, Dangerous Dennis Miller, with our official introductions.
Boxing fans, heavyweight explosion continues here from legendary Convention Hall in the heart of Asbury Park, New Jersey. This is our co-feature attraction of the evening. It is scheduled for 10 rounds of heavyweight action. Your referee, Eddie Johnson. Introducing first, in the blue corner, from Mobile, Alabama, with a fighting record of 11 wins, 60 defeats, with 9 KOs. Wearing the blue and white trunks, he weighed in this evening at 250 pounds. A big Garden State welcome for Ed Donaldson. His opponent in the red corner, from Starkville, Mississippi. A tremendous ring record of 29 wins, 1 defeat with 20 big knockouts. Wearing the green and white trunks, he weighed in this evening at a ready 220 pounds. Let's greet Keith McKnight. McKnight, 10 rounds.
Okay, boxers, the both of you were giving you instructions to the dressing room. I expect a good, clean fight. When the bell ring, come out fighting. Touch love.
All right, as referee Eddie Johnson finishes, let me bring up a couple of things here, Harold, and your comments on him. This is the heaviest Keith McKnight has ever been in his pro career, coming in today at 220 pounds, looking somewhat soft. Ed Donaldson coming in at 250, the heaviest he's ever been. Nevertheless, 30-pound weight advantage for Donaldson, and it's gonna McKnight. Let's see how well he schleps that extra weight around the ring.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Ronnie. Ed Donaldson is a notorious slow starter. I mean, talking to him, I get the impression that he really doesn't even throw a punch till the 3rd round. And this could be dangerous with a guy like McKnight, because I'm sure McKnight knows the same thing I do, and he's going to look to whack this guy out early.
All right, well, on the rust quotient situation, Donaldson's last fight and his only fight of '96 was against Michael Grant back in June. He got stopped in 3 rounds, so if he doesn't get started after 3, he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I'm looking. If McKnight's going to knock this guy out, he's got to knock him out early.
Of course, McKnight, he's in the green shorts with the white stripe. Ed Donaldson, he's in the blue with the white.
You know, I've got to put in a word for the McKnight corner. And I mean, one of the real great trainers in the game, the veteran Luther Burgess from the Cronk Gym. This is his 2nd fight with Keith McKnight. Keith did train up in Detroit at the Cronk for this fight, and I'll tell you, Luther adds a lot to the package. I mean, he's an outstanding trainer, started many years ago, working with Eddie Futch in Detroit. He's been around forever, you know, involved with Tommy Hearns and all the other Cronk fighters. You know, nobody knows more than Luther Burgess.
And I agree with you 100%. I had the pleasure of having him sit in one time in Anthony Hembrick's corner and really getting Hembrick through a particularly tough fight, and never really got the credit he deserved. Was sort of a low-profile man in the Cronk Gym. As we're about halfway gone, and round number 1 we're scheduled for 10. Referee Eddie Johnson slaps the fighters apart. Ed Donaldson, former Marine, had a little bit better luck in the Marines, I would say, though, than our friend Riddick Bowe, who retired today.
And got a very nice job at HBO. I think he's going to do very good work there. You know, sort of an outreach program. He's going to travel around and do a lot of health relations work, a lot of charity work, you know, things of that nature. You know, you can't meet a nicer guy than Riddick Bowe, and he's just made for that sort of thing. And good for him for getting out at the right time.
Under a minute to go in the 1st round. McKnight showing good movement, in spite of the fact coming in at a career-high 220 pounds. He's only got 1 loss, and that was a knockout loss to Lyle McDowell. Not exactly a household name back in August of '94. Donaldson been stopped 3 times in his career by Kirk Johnson, Jimmy Thunder, and Michael Grant. A little more of a high-profile losses, if you will.
Exactly, 3 good fighters. Yeah, I'll tell you, Keith McKnight throw that right hand to the body, and I will also look at Eddie Donaldson's big body, you know, that big stomach, and in for that, he got some awfully nice right hands to the body.
Grant, Jimmy Donaldson almost out of action for a year.
McKnight told me he was going to double that jab. So far, he hasn't doubled. It's 1 at a time. He said it was always going to be bam, bam, and so far, 1 jab. I guess that's the extra weight.
working on the face of Ed Donaldson. We'll listen in on Donaldson's corner. And we're going to take a look at a tail of the tape how these fighters match up. Keith McKnight coming in at 6'6", 3-inch height advantage over Ed Donaldson. Of course, Donaldson has that big 30 pounds over McKnight. Nice 2-inch reach advantage for McKnight. We'll see if he can take advantage of it, Harold, as you mentioned. And of course, Donaldson, 38 years of age to McKnight's 25.
Eddie Johnson just called, Eddie Mad Dog Johnson, as he's affectionately known, called timeout so that Luther Burgess could clean up the water in Keith McKnight's corner. That's awful slippery when they leave that water in there. It really could cause a bad injury.
Good call by Eddie Johnson. Not wanting any problems in that corner as we begin round number 2. We're scheduled for 10. Fairly slow round for McKnight, as you mentioned. He had told you to be looking for the double jab, but there he seems to bring the right over the top. Now he seems to be doubling on Harold, getting a little more aggressive here, feeling...
I get the impression that's what Luther told him in the corner. Go to the body first and bring the right hand over the top. In other words, bring his hands down with the body shot and then whack him over the top because he's a lot taller. And that's what he did. You know, first we saw him jab to the body, then there another jab you just saw, and in between we saw a hook to the body, then a right hand.
We mentioned in our open, an interesting yardstick for Keith McKnight, certainly moving up in level of competition. Donaldson been the distance with Larry Holmes as recently as September of '95. Went the distance with Alex Garcia back in '94 when that meant something. On the other side of the coin has been knocked out by Grant and Thunder, and if McKnight is going to be in competition with those sort of young heavyweights, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Ted Donaldson.
Yeah, certainly a different type of fighter, Keith McKnight. You know, he's not Jimmy Thunder and he's not Michael Grant. He's not the real big one-punch knockout, you know, type of fighter that both Thunder and Michael Grant are. But, you know, in other words, he seems to have more boxing skills, but he's got quick hands, real good size, and a lot of boxing smarts and a real good corner. I mean, there he goes down to the body again, and sure as the devil, true to form. And he
drops a nice left hook followed by a right. Set up by the body attack, and he got Donaldson napping, and he's really toiled away now. Only halfway gone in round number 2. Plenty of time. Eddie Johnson separates the fighters. Let's see if McKnight can take advantage of a momentarily hurt Ed Donaldson.
You know, he uses that fake to go down to the body, you know, to bring Donaldson's hands down. He wants to whack him on the floor.
And it worked nicely, just as you had mentioned, Harold, that he had gone downstairs to the body with a nice left jab. He came upstairs and caught Donaldson a little bit worried about that 250-pound career-high frame getting hit downstairs.
Certainly, this is what, you know, well prepared. This is what a good trainer like Luther Burgess should do for you. You know, Keith McKnight's coming to this fight really with a game plan, very well prepared. Got good snap in the jab, hard right hand, you know, and I have to look at left hook.
Donaldson taking the fight on somewhat short notice. Original opponent decided for McKnight was Derek Banks. That's a very tough fight as well, but right now, good work here. Ed Donaldson, 20 seconds to go in round number 2. We're scheduled for 10 on heavyweight explosion.
Looks like Ed Donaldson.
McKnight showing some good points here, not going crazy, even though he had Donaldson hurt. And even though he's got knockouts in his 29 wins, sent to sit here for another round again, round number 2. The Burgess in the corner. Keith McKnight. And a move like that, Harold, just going for the man of experience, taking some time to go up the front, really be a turning point in the other fighter's career. Take a look at action here from round number 2. And it was first to throw that uppercut to the body, right uppercut followed by that left hook. 4 pretty good shots. Not able to put Donaldson down.
Arnie, he changed up. In other words, instead of leading with the left to the body, he went with a right hand to the body and then brought the left hook upstairs, and that's what he staggered with.
Impressive combination. Round number 3, and this time Ed Johnson hitting the people in Ed Donaldson
come into this fight well prepared. Terrific corner. Now let's see if he can hold up Donaldson, who's known to pick up the action around 3.
And good to see Al Gavin back in action.
Oh, he's the best, I tell you. You know, worked with such world champions as Lennox Lewis, Kevin Kelly, many world champions over the years. One of the few people I know who's been a boxing man.
Very good second round for Keith McKnight. Didn't put Donaldson down, but certainly had him hurt. Dropped a right into the body, followed by a left hook upstairs. Somewhat of an unusual combination. Don't see a lot of heavyweights go to the body first, certainly with a right, followed by a left hook.
You know, he's very agile for a heavyweight. I love the way he keeps his feet. Goes from side to side. Donaldson charges him. He backs up, gets out of the way. Very good footwork. I mean, this dude's got skills.
Liston is 6'6", which makes you think, in spite of the fact that he, came in today at a career high 220, his body can handle that kind of weight at 6'6".
Bobby, to fight heavyweights in today's game, in today's world, especially in the past 10 years, you have to be a little bit heavy. Let's face reality. There's just too many really bowlers. Lennox Lewis is, the real big heavyweights. Two biggest moves out there. And if you run to 220, it makes it awfully difficult. I mean, it just goes to show how great Mike Tyson was, because if he can handle a guy that's 250 pounds, you got to be great, And I guess a few extra pounds certainly is not hurting too much. I mean, he was taking on a 250-pounder and banging him around. He's doing the same thing in the third round as he did in rounds 1 and 2.
Interestingly enough, McKnight and Donaldson both started their pro career within 30 days of each other back in June and May of 1992. The thing was, Donaldson was 34 years of age at the time, and of course McKnight was only 21. Donaldson's only had 17 pro fights, came in this fight 11-6, 9 knockouts. However, he's been stopped 3 times. McKnight, as we mentioned, 29-1, 20 wins by way of KO. Very good punching power, but let's again use as a barometer, yardstick, call it what you will, how well he does today against Donaldson. A good source of comparison how he'll do against the other up-and-coming heavyweights in the division as we're coming on the 30-second mark in round number 3.
Oh yeah, like that long left jab, and did you see the footwork? Went to his right, got out of the way of Donaldson's left jab, and he moves in beautifully with a left jab to the body. Just keeps working Donaldson's body. He knows Donaldson's, heavy, a little bit winded, and he's working that body beautifully.
I'm looking for what might be a weak point for McKnight.
That's his long-time manager and trainer, Eddie Sorrell, the Jimmy Ward that he previously mentioned.
Donaldson breathing very heavy right now. In his first start of 1997, only had 1 fight in 1996. We got stopped at 3 rounds by up-and-coming heavyweight Mike Grant. Prior to that, 2 fights in 95, 1 10-round win over Michael Faulkner, and a 10-round loss to the former heavyweight champion of the world, Larry Holmes. Round number 4, and again, this is becoming a habit for Eddie Johnson. He's doing the housekeeping there. Every corner is taken care of.
That's right.
And as we begin round number 4, Harold, how do you see it right now?
Well, so far I got enough fingers and toes. 3 rounds to nothing, 30-27. Keith McKnight. There's no question he's winning this fight with that beautiful left jab, working the body. He hurt Donaldson in the first round, but it wasn't a 10-8 round. So I got it 3-0 McKnight. I think he's doing a nice job boxing. And like you say, let's see if we can pick up the pace and possibly look to finish Eddie Donaldson, or if he's just going to be patient and look to get him into the late rounds and not get hurt.
And speaking of the late rounds, what's interesting about McKnight, he's had 30 professional fights, 20 knockouts, but he has been 10 rounds or more 3 times in his career. But interestingly enough, he went 12 rounds in only his 10th pro fight, beating David Quinn in a 12-round decision.
Yeah, just goes to show he's got good stamina. But I'll tell you, I like that footwork. Boy, he gets out of harm's way beautifully. I mean, for heavyweight, he really moves like a welterweight. Guy 6'6" like that, very, very nice footwork.
Along those same lines, Donaldson's been 10 rounds or more, only 10 rounds actually, 3 times in his career, losing 2 out of 3. we mentioned. One time to Alex Garcia, Larry Holmes, and the one win coming against Michael Faulkner. Both fighters can go to distance.
I was going to say, doesn't that show a lot that he went 10 rounds with Larry Holmes and with Alex Garcia? I mean, two really good fighters and two real bangers. If Donaldson went 10 rounds with those guys, he certainly could probably go 10 rounds with Keith McKnight. And I'll tell you, one thing I can tell you for sure, the 10 rounds with Mike Faulkner must have been a very, very slow fight.
Well, it's got to be disappointing for Donaldson as he goes the distance with Larry Holmes and then he doesn't fight again for almost a year. Yeah. And that's where the shame comes in, especially at his age with a lot of rust going on.
His manager said to me he goes to work every day on the Mobile, Alabama police force.
Minute to go in round number 4. We're scheduled for 10. No knockdowns thus far in the fight. Keith McKnight, he's in the green shorts with the white stripe. Ed Donaldson, former Marine, in the blue with the white stripe. 13-year age difference between the two fighters. Of course, McKnight the younger at 25.
You know, why didn't it dawn on me to ask Ed Donaldson how far along they are in the James Hughes case?
They still don't have any clue on that.
You know, I don't know. I know it's. You remember Jerry Tillman? He was the one that was working on the case, as I recall.
Of course, we're talking about Jesse James Hughes, former fighter, found murdered. 2 weeks after a lawsuit, he just had
you know, you just threw me a curveball and I hit a blank.
Gee, I thought that would be a layup for you.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll have to call our Crackerjack stat department for the answer to that one.
You said that Keith McKnight ran and jabbed his way to another 10-9 round?
I would say that that's definitely the case, but at the same time, I'm sort of wondering, with the success that he's had, and he had in the second round, hurting Ed Donaldson, that he hasn't jumped on him more in the last 2 rounds, Harold. Seems to be a little more passive.
We're going to see on the replay. Pushes him more. Now that's illegal. That's healing an opponent. You can't do that. Under the rules, you have to keep the glove closed. But hey, listen, you get away with what you can get away with.
He doesn't even have any laces. You know, Fritzy Zivic used to do it, but he had some laces when he would claw you like that.
That's right.
Begin round number 5 of a scheduled 10 rounder. We were talking between rounds and sort of wondering why McKnight has been less aggressive.
Did you see him change up and open a round with a hard left hook? I mean, he came flying in with that Floyd Patterson flying in left hook and nailed Ed Donaldson, the opening punch of the round. Now he goes back to the body, very, very smart. I tell you, Keith McKnight impresses me, you know, with his spots in the ring. He really does. He's got nice ring generalship, keeps moving, he hardly ever gets hit. Uses his jab, sets up the right angles, but the only thing is that he doesn't look to step in and get this guy out of there.
Well, one of the things that he did very successfully in the second round, Harold, when he had Ed Donaldson hurt, he went to the body first. Worked very well for him. He threw that right to the body, came back with the left hook and caught Donaldson napping. He hasn't gone to the body. He's abandoned the body attack.
You know what? We talked about the caliber of opposition before. We know he has 20 knockouts, yet he really doesn't show much as far as being a power puncher. And like you say, you know, he had him hurt, but he didn't look to step in and get him out. You know, he just doesn't seem to have that one-punch knockout, despite the 20 wins, which, you know, may have been against lesser caliber of opposition when he was first running on the way up. But this is a kid that's been boxing since he's 17 years old. He's got boxing every day.
Nice light combination. McKnight though takes a step backwards and is content to let Donaldson off the hook for the moment. And again, Donaldson stopped 3 times in his career, and this is going to be the yardstick for McKnight. Kirk Johnson stopped Donaldson in 5, Jimmy Thunder in 2, Michael Grant in 3.
We've just named some awfully good fighters in the world today. Some of the best heavyweights in the world.
Nevertheless, though, for McKnight to move up, you know, I don't think it's unfair to compare him to Michael Grant.
I don't think he's ready for Michael Grant yet, but, you know, hey, this is a kid on the way up, and, you know, he's going to get there with the kind of smarts that he's showing us so far. All he's got to do is develop a little more power. I mean, that's the only thing I think he lacks.
Began his pro career back in June of '92 with a 2-round knockout of Roy Bedwell. Was a cruiserweight then, weighed 192 pounds. Got down as low as 188 in his pro career as recently as June of '93. Gradually moved up to heavyweight, grown into a heavyweight. He's only 25 years of age. Weighs 220 pounds today, and a nice right-hand lead by McKnight. Backs up Donaldson. He seems tentative, though, to want to move in and finish Donaldson.
Right. Do you see the way he blocked the weave? You know, in other words, he was looking for McKnight to fight back with a right hand, so he blocked the weave and McKnight didn't get the punch off. So, in other words, he is very defensive-minded. That's why he's hardly gotten hit in 5 rounds so far.
15 seconds to go in round number 5. It's scheduled for 10 on Heavyweight Explosion. Of course, coming up, our main event, James Waring and Alex Stewart. Tony Tokyo Rosenthal along with Harold Lutman as we come to the end. We're back to the corner here with Keith McKnight. I'd be curious to see if Luther Burgess is going to light a fire underneath him.
He's going to take it
I don't think Keith has any kids. I can't say that his kids are on the Luther not known for theatrics like that. Of course, we're referring to Teddy Atlas in the Michael Moore Vaughn Beam fight. We take a look at action here from round number 5. There's that nice left-right combination that hurt Donaldson earlier in the round. And then McKnight trying to get something happening there, and there's where a body attack might have worked nicely.
Absolutely.
Stayed upstairs.
He stepped back. In other words, he was looking for Donaldson to fire back, and he stepped back. Well, let's see if he comes in with a punch to stuff on. No, not this time. Look at Donaldson was looking for it. When he came out for round 5, he came flying in with a left hook to the body. This time he was a little bit more cautious.
And
Donaldson could nail him.
As we begin the second half of the fight, Harold, how do you have it?
5 rounds to nothing, 50 to 45. Keith McKnight. I mean, there's no question. I think he's just jabbing his ways. Beautiful reach, gentlemanship. He's winning this fight without that. I think that Ed Donaldson hasn't gotten off the strike yet. So far it's all Keith McKnight. Donaldson's going to have to pick up the pace if he expects to win this fight. Unless he figures that McKnight's going to try and hold it, knock him out the 8 rounds. You got to remember, Ed Donaldson still. Round 7, runs a lot. Remember, George Foreman wearing down the Asbury in the late rounds. You fight these guys that are much bigger than you, these things happen.
I see the fight the same way.
I always said you were a terrific judge, Lonnie.
However, the last time that Donaldson knocked anybody out was back in August of '94. John Edwards stopped him in 1 round. Has lost his last 4 out of 5 since then.
You think you have a lot of Kenny Stapler? We got 2 quick questions for him, so
I still want to know who beat Jesse James Hughes.
There wasn't Adrian Stone.
Halfway gone in round number 6. McKnight starting to go back downstairs again to the body. That's what he's going to need to do if he's going to bring Ed Donaldson's hands down. He did it effectively in round number 2.
Ron, do you think you might give out your cellular phone number? People could call in if they know who beat Jesse James Hughes in his last fight. McKnight's still working the body beautifully. He's upstairs, downstairs.
Right combination. Catches Donaldson holding on.
Probably going to keep McKnight.
Donaldson starting to hold on a lot now as Eddie Johnson breaking the fighters apart.
He's starting to believe it. His eyes are wide. They're swollen. Both of the eyes are swollen. I think the left eye swollen a little bit more than the right. But Eddie Johnson certainly has a lot of swelling around both eyes from that jab.
A good looking jab it is from Keith McKnight. Now the question is, can he put the right hand behind it and put Eddie Donaldson away? Nice left right. Donaldson's starting to look very tired to me.
Yeah, without question. Sure, he's huffing and puffing. Look, he's overweight, a year away.
And there's the body shot, and that's what he needs to do as we end round number 6.
question. He's been blinking, wincing. You know, something's bothering him. There's absolutely no question. Jimmy Walker trying to tell him to pick up the pace, and then he's got to get this guy out. He's behind. One thing about Jimmy Walker, smart boxing man.
Round number 7, and some concern in the corner of Ed Donaldson about whether there's some foreign substance in his eye. Been blinking a lot. Plus he's got a lot of swelling, and a right-hand lead from Keith McKnight didn't help his case any. Another right followed up, and Donaldson holding on again. Referee Eddie Johnson separates the fighters, and again, a lot of blinking on the part of Ed Donaldson.
I mean, you just can't miss it. It's true. I don't know if it's from eating those right hands or if it's from the jab or possibly, you know, what happens to a lot of fighters is they get that Vaseline in the eye. It's not only their Vaseline, but the opponent's Vaseline sometimes. You know, you can't use anything in the corner except water and Vaseline under the rules. You know, that's the reason why you can't use liniment. Because if you use liniment, sure as the devil, somebody will get it in the eye. So the only thing allowed in virtually all parts of the world are water and Vaseline, other than the cut stuff. Ramen, like that. But that's it.
Donaldson offering very little offense right now, but McKnight not really taking advantage of it as we got a minute gone by in round number 7 of the scheduled 10 round. That's McKnight. He's in the green shorts with the white stripe. Ed Donaldson, he's in the blue with the white stripe. No knockdowns thus far in the fight. Donaldson been hurt a couple of times, most notably back in round number 2. And there's a nice body shot by McKnight. Follows it up with another body shot. And that's what he needs to do. He's got to bring Donaldson's hands down. But then he takes these steps back and sort of admires his work, which a lot of young fighters do.
Fighting a very cautious fight. He knows Donaldson's 30 pounds heavier and dangerous, and he just doesn't want to get nailed. Eddie Johnson's taking a long, hard look at Donaldson. I mean, Eddie Johnson is a gym owner, long-time referee, long-time trainer. He knows the game inside out. He knows when a fight is hurt. And he's watching Ed Donaldson very, very, very carefully.
Well, Donaldson's certainly looking this round like he's in the survival mode. Not offering much offense whatsoever. Now seems to come alive here as we're coming on the 1 minute mark in round number 7.
He's fighting like the fight was taking him off of the body. He's very, very tired. He can hardly lift his arms to get a shot off him. He's throwing so few punches in round number 7. It's just terrible. It really is.
McKnight starting to sense it, too, getting the most aggressive he's been since round number 3.
Still leaning in with that jab to the body. Boy, he's got a real talent to lean in with that jab to the body and not get hit. I mean, remember, he's 6'6", and you know when he leans in with that jab, he can nail him with a counter right hand. But Donaldson hasn't been able to get it off. Donaldson sees the jab coming. You figure he'd shoot that right hand.
Donaldson looking very slow. He's only had 3 rounds in the last 2 years, and that was 3 rounds he had against Michael Graham when he got stopped in 3. And being 38 years of age, coming in at a career-high 250 pounds. I think there's reason for his slowness.
You got to remember the angle Michael Graham hits you from. I mean, you know, he comes down with them punches because he's 6'7".
Nice uppercut landed by Keith McKnight as we come to the end of round number 7. And Donaldson still in there as he finishes strong.
What did it take? 7 fucking rounds to start going punches? Damn, if you want to hit him, just go out there and throw some. Let's go, get mad.
McKnight seems to go to the body a little bit more finally again in this round, Harold. As we take a look at action from round number 7.
Let's go.
That was that nice left, and I think he follows it with another left to the body, and then he takes those steps back.
Exactly. It's hard to understand. It's a double left hook that he throws. It's really nice.
It's interesting watching the replay. I thought that uppercut had landed, and it didn't. It just glanced off Donaldson.
Now you know why it's difficult to be a boxing judge.
Round number 8, and it's been all Keith McKnight thus far. Harold, I see it as a shutout through 7. You've got it the same way.
Absolutely agree. 70-63, 7 rounds to nothing. Keith McKnight. There's no question. He's just tapping his way through to a decision so far. Let's see if he can stop him in the last 3, or if Donald can come alive and possibly do some damage. It's going to be interesting.
Donald started to come alive there, and I saw McKnight in a place he hadn't been yet on this fight, and that was on the ropes. And a nice shot landed, and it seems like whatever was wrong with Donald's eyes, he's not blinking as much now. And but he dropped that right hand and was open for that left hook, and McKnight missed it just by a fraction.
Yeah, without question. I think Eddie Donaldson didn't see that left hook coming, that's for sure. Eddie's just got to pick up the pace somewhat. I mean, he stands no chance unless he opens up. You see that this ring just got seams in it. And maybe Keith McKnight was bothered by it because he looked down at the ring.
Something bothered his footing there for a second, but not a good move to make. He was lucky that Donaldson was about 2 feet away from him when he did that.
Let him go. I'm tired of that, guys. Come on. Right.
Very defensive fighter. Without question, he's watching as he don't get knocked out. He knows he's way ahead. He knows he's won every round, so he's doing what he has to and then going out of there. When's the last time you saw him?
Definitely gone in round number 8. I would still think that McKnight would really feel good about this fight. He got to put Donaldson out. And I think Donaldson, in spite of the fact that he's got 9 knockouts and his 11 wins, isn't much of a KO threat. But you mentioned, Harold, that he might be thinking about, gee, this guy's got 30 pounds. I mean, that's like, you know, another quarter of a person or something.
Exactly. He has to be thinking about that. But boy, I tell you, Keith McKnight's got some real skills. I mean, he goes to the body as well as any heavyweight, you know, you'll see him. Comes in the hooks, he leads him with that jab. You know, it's amazing that he doesn't drop Donaldson. Go like body work, he says it. Unbelievable. He leads him and he gets away with it.
Nice off the jab, drops on a nice right uppercut, finally lands.
Not only that, he doubled. He doubled the left hook. I mean, you don't see many heavyweights can do that. It's 2 left hooks together, but you're both know that.
Donaldson starting to throw caution to the wind. He's throwing some shots in there. McKnight counterpunching nicely. Under 30 seconds to go in round number 8. Now going downstairs again.
It's very interesting. Eddie Donaldson stalked him and then covered up. I mean, he didn't punch. Covered up so with the ring.
McKnight not taking advantage, though, of those wide telegraphic punches, though, from Donaldson. Those are punches that he should be making Donaldson pay for. As we come to the end of round number 8, scheduled for 10. Another good round for McKnight, but Donaldson still standing as he pins him on the ropes at the end of the round.
Down to 2 rounds. Now listen, you're moving more.
Burgess in there with his young heavyweight. Luther's got to be having fun working with a kid like this.
I'm sure he is. He really is excited about having a new heavyweight in the gym. You know, especially, you know, it's only lost 1 fight.
Donaldson having trouble breathing there as we take a look at action from round number 8. There's that left hook. And there's that second left hook. Followed by a right, and one of the few clinches that we've seen Donaldson go in.
Two more to go.
And as we have 2 more to go, Harold Letterman, how do you see it?
Well, still the same, to tell you the truth. I got it 8 rounds to nothing, which turns out to be 80 to 72 in favor of Keith McKnight. I think he's still pitching a shot. I mean, I don't think there's anything close to a 10-8 round, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's all 10-9 rounds because Donaldson really hasn't been up for a round or, close to going down or anything like that. He's been firing back in every single round, even when he's getting hurt. So, you have to say Keith McKnight is winning these rounds by a 1-point margin, certainly not a 2. So, not a tough fight to score. But we've been fooled before.
Yeah, well, that's Keith McKnight. He's in the green shorts with the white stripe. Ed Donaldson, he's in the blue with the white. As Harold mentioned, no knockdowns thus far in the fight. And I think the closest that Donaldson's come to being hurt or maybe going down was way back in round number 2.
I agree with you. It really looked like he was hurt in round number 2. And as you called it, Keith McKnight stepped back.
We got a minute gone by here in round number 9. Nice right-hand lead lands by McKnight. And again, takes a couple of steps backwards. Reminds me of a fighter of mine named Paul Baden. We always talk to him. He likes to paint the picture and then admire his work. And has a habit of letting guys off the hook.
Without question, Tim's let him off the hook a couple of times where he could have jumped on him.
Why do you want to call him Tim?
That's right, Chief. You're right. Caught me again.
Who is Tim McKnight? There is a Tim McKnight. I know a Tim McKnight. Halfway gone in round number 9. You think at this point, if that McKnight is going to be content. Hey, I'm up 8 rounds to zip. I'm going to cruise home now. This guy doesn't want to go away tonight.
You know, Arnie, it's just, you know, really, this is probably his television debut. He really should.
And just as we say that, left, right, and he's got Donaldson hooked. Donaldson holding on. Let's see if McKnight goes in this time and tries to take advantage. Instead, he takes the step back.
You know, when you have people seeing you all over the world, you really want to make an impressive showing. Now he's got Donaldson tired, softened up. He really should go for the kill. Look for the sensational ending.
And he had him hurt again. One more time, lets him off the hook. Donaldson just bouncing off the ropes right now. Might like a nice place to lay down. McKnight going downstairs. Just about 30 seconds to go in the round.
I don't think he's looking for a place to lay down. 10 years in the Marines, you know, working police coming over Alabama. No, there's no quitting at Donaldson, but the problem is he just doesn't have the skills and he's rusty. And maybe not in the best of shape. Keith McKnight giving him a beating.
All good points. Come near the end of round number 9. Keith McKnight, as we had mentioned, been 10 rounds or more 3 times in his career, and he's about to go into the 10th round for the 4th time, as is Ed Donaldson. Well, as we go back to the corner with Ed Donaldson, Harold, I think the real question at this point is this corner going to say, hey, just go out and survive for another 3 minutes, or you need a knockout to win, and let's see if you can take this kid out of his game.
No, knowing Jimmy Waldrop as well as I know, he's telling this kid, look, you know, you're losing, go out and try and whack him out. But the question is, how do you motivate Ed Donaldson? I mean, you know, we've been through the telephone already. What else do you do?
We take a look at the beginning of round number 9, probably the second time in the fight that McKnight had Donaldson hurt and let him off the hook, and there's that big right hand over the top. He's going to work him back into the corner, and then they'll go into a clinch, and after Eddie Johnson broke him from this clinch, nothing happened again, and we take a look at from the other angle. Again, nice right hand lead over the top. As we begin the 10th and final round. Keith McKnight, Ed Donaldson. That's McKnight in the white, green shorts, white stripe. Donaldson blue with the white. No knockdowns thus far in the fight. And Harold, shutout from McKnight.
Oh, absolutely, I believe so. 90 to 81, 9 rounds to nothing. Keith McKnight. You know, it's funny. Keith McKnight went up to try and touch gloves, and Ed Donaldson didn't want to. There's no rule that says you have to touch gloves at the start of the last round. Ed Donaldson just backed away, thinking, hey, I ain't going to do it. You know, if you ever listen to Butterbean, he always says, if I get you in the corner, you don't get out. Keith McKnight gets Ed Donaldson in the corner and then backs up and lets him out.
He's been doing that all fight from the second round on when he's had him hurt. The question is McKnight going to be content at this point to cruise in round number 10 and just take a unanimous decision, or would he like to still get Donaldson out there? There's no indication to me that McKnight wanted a knockout in this fight. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't. You follow where I'm coming from here. He would have him hurt, content to step back, get the 10 rounds worth of work, and didn't seem intent on having to put Ed Donaldson away.
Exactly. You know, the pattern of this fight, you know, was started in the first round, and it just followed the pattern since. It's got the same way. Leaning into those real good shots to the body, then bring it up to the head. He hurt Eddie Donaldson a couple of times, but he's never shown that fire, that real desire to bring it and whack him out. You know, close the show, finish him off, look real impressive on television for people across the world. You know, it's surprising. He's a good fighter, has a good record, he's young, he's cool, good skills. He's got to show, you know, he's got to show some ability. He's got to show fans, you know, hey, I'm an exciting fight to pay to see, because if he doesn't, nobody's going to pay to see him. So very, very important that, you know, he goes and tries to make an impression on the fans.
Here we go in the 10th and final round, and of course coming up our main event, former cruiserweight champion of the world James Waring, now campaigning at heavyweight against heavyweight contender Alex Stewart. It'll be a terrific matchup. Right now, Keith McKnight looking to improve to 31 for body attack, and again, it's a body attack that's been, this time he's not stepping back, he's looking to close it. And the question is, will Eddie Johnson let the fight go on with 35 seconds to go in the 10th and final round if Donaldson gets hurt?
Eddie Donaldson rolling away across the ring.
seconds alone as we got 20 to go in the 10th and final round.
He was right.
McKnight one more time lets Donaldson off the hook, takes that step back, intends to pop that jab in there, and it's been a very pretty jab. We've got to give him that along. It's a very good lateral motion. Body attack. To see the last man off the hook, and again he locks Donaldson as we end the fight. And just the final round of the scoring here. I see it the same way. McKnight's very happy with the step up in the level of competition. Of course, our scoring unofficial, but it looks like McKnight will get his 30th win. Will not get, obviously, his 21st knockout. Ed Donaldson more than likely will drop down to 11-7. When we take a look again here at action in round number 10, another good round for McKnight. McKnight managed to one more time back Ed Donaldson up into a corner, hurt him, nice left over the top, followed with a nice body attack, and again coming upstairs, good four-punch, and there you see, as Harold and I discussed throughout the fight, took a couple of steps backwards and let Donaldson off the hook. Almost like the competition that he's had previously in his career might have fallen forward, as if he was looking for the fighter to come and tip towards him. However, Ed Donaldson, much better chin, in spite of the fact that he's been stopped 3 times. He was stopped by the likes of
everybody at mom's house. I love y'all.
Michael Grant. There's Keith McKnight, now going 10 rounds or more for the 4th time in his career.
Party and strawberries.
Nevertheless, very happy with his performance. Luther Burgess, his new trainer, out of the Kronk Gym, also happy, and coming in at a career-high 220 pounds, he seems to have grown very nicely into a heavyweight, although his pro career started back down as a cruiser, got down as low as 187 pounds back in 1992, but again, he's only 25 years of age, 6'6", a lot of room to grow. And it'll be interesting to see, as we mentioned earlier, though, had he been able to take out Ed Donaldson, you could compare him to the likes of Grant Thunder or Kirk Johnson. Wasn't taking him out today, so nice step up. We'll be curious to see what he has to say to Harold Letterman in our post-fight interview. But we're going to go up right now to our ring announcer, Dennis Miller, with our official decision.
Boxing fans, here is the decision of the judges. Judge Barbara Perez scores the fight 99-91. John Riley scores the fight 100-90. And George Hill, the final judge, scores the fight 99-90. All in favor by unanimous decision, Keith McKnight.
Keith McKnight, winner by unanimous decision, improves to 30 wins. Still only 1 loss. Scores were 99-91, 100-90, and 99-90. Of course, Harold and myself had it 100-90, a complete shutout for Keith McKnight. And I think our Harold Letterman is in the ring trying to corral Keith McKnight, and we'll get some thoughts on perhaps where he's going next and maybe why, in fact, he wasn't able to put Ed Donaldson away. And maybe Luther Burgess will have some insight into that as well. So we'll see if Harold's ready. Okay, Harold, take it away.
Keith, what did you think of your performance tonight? I thought you got real good skills.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say all praises to the Lord for without him none of this be possible. I think you got 10 good rounds of work. You know, I've been up in Kronk working with Luther Burgess. Did a lot of good work up there, and you know, I did my job, a little bit more conditioning, and put on a little bit more weight to be ready.
Let me ask you a question. Arnie and I were talking all night. We thought you had him hurt as early as the 2nd round. Why don't you jump on him and try to knock him out?
Well, I don't know. You know, I just was working hard. Should have stepped it up, but it's all right. We can do it again next time.
Let me ask you, the fact that he was 30 pounds heavier, did that bother you at all?
A little bit, but you know, I wasn't going to stand inside with him. I was going to move and use my jab like I did, lateral movement. But we got good work, you know.
Keith, we're going to show you a little bit of action from the fight. Comment on this while you watch it.
Okay. Right there, I was setting him up, trying to jab to the body, come back up top. Maybe a little busier here. In a little while, a little too much left, but still learning.
I commented there was hardly a clinch in the fight. That's one of the only times that Eddie Johnson had to break you up.
Yeah, but like I said, more work with Frazier, Luther, and Kerry, and just just keep going.
Keith, let me ask you, who do you want next? Got anybody in mind?
Talk to my manager. I go to the gym and work.
Kerry?
Well, they're talking about maybe USA next, maybe a guy like Quinn Navarre or somebody like that. Sounds good to me. I'm real pleased with his performance tonight. We could have got the early knockout, but he hasn't had rounds in a long time, and we got 10 good hard rounds of work. This guy went 10 with Larry Holmes, and I thought Keith handled it much easier than Larry Holmes did.
One last question. I have to ask you this. Where did you learn to double that hook and double that jab? Because I hardly ever saw a heavyweight can do it like you.
I'll tell you, an old friend of mine, Diamond Jim McDonald, had the best left hook, double left hook in the business.
Okay. Thanks an awful lot, Keith. The very best of luck. How back to Arnie Rosenthal down at ringside.
Thank you, Harold, and thank you, Keith McKnight. Very insightful. Some of the things, again, to paraphrase the McKnight's looking to do. He says he wants to put on more weight. Came in at 220 pounds today. Would still like to put on some more. Said it was good work. Admitted that he's still learning. Wasn't really sure when asked the obvious question, why couldn't you stop your man when he was hurt? Wasn't quite positive. And, of course, gave credit to old light heavyweight Diamond Jim McDonald. I remember Diamond Jim fighting Bobby Ches and a couple of other light heavyweights. And they're talking about Quinn Navarre in the future.